Have you ever heard the term subject and verb agreement or subject-verb concord? So here when we talk about the subject and verb agreement, subject can be any particular word which is used as a noun or as a pronoun in a sentence. And the verb which comes along with it has to agree with the subject in person as well as number. So when I talk about he is an intelligent boy. So when I say he is an intelligent boy, that is agrees with the subject he. So he is a singular subject and so it takes the singular verb is. So this is what we're going to discuss today in an interesting manner. What exactly do we mean by subject and verb agreement? So there are a few rules that we all need to make a note of so that we all are able to frame error-free sentences. So let the learning begin. We begin with the first rule of the day. So when we have one subject in a sentence, like I was just mentioning, so when you have one subject, if the subject is singular, the verb will always be singular. And if the subject is plural, the verb will always be plural. But what if there are more than one subjects in a sentence? Let's say there are two subjects in a sentence and both the subjects are joined using the conjunction and. Then in such case, how will the verb be? Whether the verb will be singular or plural. I'll give you a very simple example. If I say Ram and Sham is or are playing. So now Ram and Sham both are singular subjects but they are joined using the conjunction and so they will always take a plural form of the verb. So Ram and Sham are playing. That is the first rule. The second rule says when two subjects are joined using either or, neither nor, which are our correlative conjunctions, or only by the conjunctions or, nor, then in such cases, the verb always agrees with the nearest subject. So let's take an example. Like we took the previous example, Ram and Sham are playing. So if I say either Ram or Sham, so is or are playing. Now here I am talking about two subjects which are singular. So obviously the verb will also be singular. So is playing. Because I am not talking about both, I am talking about either of them. But if in the same example, I replace one of the subjects with a plural subject, saying either Ram or his friends. So is playing or are playing, the verb has to agree with the nearest subject. So the nearest subject is plural, that is friends. So the verb will also be plural. So either Ram or his friends are playing. Now in this case, if I begin the subject using either his friends or Ram, then can I say is playing or are playing? Structurally, I can say is playing, but grammatically that is wrong. Whenever you are joining two subjects using either or, neither nor, the rule says the singular subject should always be used in the beginning. It comes first and the plural subject always comes later. So second should be the plural subject and so the verb that follows will always be plural in this case because the verb agrees with the nearest subject. We proceed to the next rule. We said when two subjects are joined using the conjunction and, the verb is always plural. But what if those two subjects refer to the same person or thing? Then how will the verb be? Whether it will be singular or plural. Let's take an example. If I say the writer and poet, I repeat, the writer and poet has or have won many awards. So in this case, the answer should be has, because here we are talking about the writer who was also a poet. But if I am referring to two different people, then it will be the writer and the poet. In the previous sentence, we said the writer and poet, which means the writer who was also a poet or who is also a poet. But in the second case, we said the writer and the poet. So in this case, we are referring to two different people. And so the verb that follows will be plural and not singular. So I hope we are sure and we are clear as to when we are supposed to use singular verb with and when we are supposed to use plural verb with and. So we move to the next rule. So whenever there is a distributive pronoun in a sentence. Now what do we mean by distributive? The words like each, every, either, neither, no one, anybody. So all these are your distributives. So whenever you have a sentence beginning with a distributive pronoun, then the verb that follows will always be singular and not plural. Say for example, each of the students was or were given a medal. So we are talking about each student. So though I am saying students, but I am referring to each one of them individually. So the answer has to be was given. Each of the students was given a medal and not were given. Students were given medal. Students were given medals, but each of the students was given and not were given. The next rule is when two subjects are joined using the connector with, along with, together with, as well as, accompanied by, then in such case the verb always agrees with the first subject. So in the let's take an example. If I say the chief guest along with his family has or have arrived at the concert. So the chief guest along with his family has arrived. Why? Because the chief guest is the subject here, which is singular. In this case, if it would have been the chief guests along with their families, so have arrived. Why? Because it is plural. The next rule says whenever you have a collective noun in a sentence. So when I talk about a collective noun, it refers to a collection, a group. So whenever you're referring to, let's say, a mob, a crowd, or let's say a group of anything, and it is considered as one, they are together and considered as one unit, then in that case the verb that follows is always singular. So if I say the committee has or have unanimously come to a decision. So unanimously, which means together, all of the members of the committee have the same point of view. So here we'll say the committee has come to a unanimous decision. But when I talk about the committee having different points of view, then in that case I will always say the committee was or were divided in their opinion. So the committee were divided in their opinion. Why? Because here the opinion of the people or the point of view of the people is no more the same. It varies, it differs, and so the verb that follows will always be plural. Now whenever we talk about plural nouns, nouns which are always used in pairs like police, cattle, sheep, or let's say trousers, scissors. Scissors is the most misused, not misused I would say, but wrongly used one, because we always call scissor or we always say scissor, which is wrong. There's nothing called scissor. You can say a pair of scissor, but the word should be scissors because it always comes in pairs. So in case of these plural nouns, the verb that follows should always be plural. So these pair of scissors are very sharp and not is very sharp, right? So the police have surrounded the city as there is a terrorist attack expected. So the police have and not has. The next rule says whenever you have a phrase beginning with a lot of. So whenever you have a sentence beginning with the phrase a lot of, then in that case the verb that follows is always plural. A lot of people are present for the function, not is present for the function, though it is a, but we are talking about lot of. So the verb that follows will always be plural and not singular. I'm sure we are acquainted with these basic things now, and it's time to check what exactly we have learned today. So here is a small activity for all of you. I'll be displaying a few questions on the screen, and I expect all of you to post your answers or maybe pause the video for a minute, think, and then check the answer so as to understand whether you have understood the topic or not. So here we begin with an exercise. The first sentence on the screen. One of the plates are broken. So here one of the always takes plural subject, one of the many, but the verb that follows is always singular. So one of the plates is broken and not are broken. Let's check the second sentence. The 7 children from Chennai has been selected for the final round of the quiz. So now here you are talking about the 7 children from Chennai. So when we talk about children, which is plural, the verb should also be plural. So the 7 children from Chennai have been selected for the final round of the quiz. So the next sentence on the screen is, neither the children nor the teacher has reached yet. So as we discussed, when two subjects are joined using either or, neither nor, then the verb always agrees with the second subject, which is the nearest subject. And especially when you have one singular subject and one plural subject, the singular subject has to come first. So in this case, the singular subject is the teacher and the plural subject is the children. So we have to rearrange the sentence. So the sentence will be, neither the teacher nor the children have reached yet, and not has reached yet. The next sentence is, Sheena and her sister is here to see you. So when we are joining two subjects using the conjunction and, the verb should always be plural. So Sheena and her sister are here to see you. The next sentence is, a lot of food choices was given. Like we discussed, whenever your sentence begins with a lot of, the verb that follows is always plural. So a lot of food choices were given and not was given. The next sentence is, my parents lives in New Zealand. So when I say my parents lives in New Zealand, it has to be, the verb should also be plural or singular. The subject is plural, so the verb should be plural at the same time. So had it been parent, so parent lives, but my parents live in New Zealand. The next sentence is, don't you think 4 days are a little too long? So though it is 4 days, but we always say 4 days is a little too long and not are a little too long, because it's a question. And we are saying, don't you think? So whenever it begins with do, then in that case the verb should always be singular. The next sentence is, do anyone know where the lift is? So here the verb has to agree with the subject. So anyone is a singular subject. So we can't say do anyone know. It should be, does anyone know where the lift is? The next sentence is, the little girl do not like mangoes for some reason. So here the answer should be, the little girl does not like mangoes and not do not like, because the little girl is a singular subject. And the last sentence for the day is, you has brought all that I had asked for. You always takes a plural verb. So it should be, you have brought all that I had asked for. So thank you for watching my video. I'm sure you enjoyed the video. So keep learning, keep growing and keep shining with my YouTube channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Do not forget to hit the bell icon for updates. See you and bye-bye.